Welcome to Franchise Empires, where aspiring entrepreneurs learn exactly what it takes to become a successful franchise owner, from one location to 10 and beyond. I'm the Wolf of Franchises.
Hey everyone, it's the Wolf. Today on the show we have CJ Adams. CJ owns a very interesting portfolio of franchises. He dove in headfirst during COVID in September of 2020 and went from being a real estate broker to owning 6 franchises via 3 co-branded locations. Today he owns a large portfolio of franchises that include Great American Cookies, Slab Creamery, Pretzelmaker, and some of the last Maggie Moo's ice cream franchises in the country. This is a super fun conversation and I think you'll enjoy.
The Wolf of Franchises is the CEO of Wolfpack Franchising, as well as a creator at Workweek Media. All opinions expressed by the Wolf and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Wolfpack Franchising or Workweek. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. The Wolf, Workweek, and Wolfpack Franchising may maintain positions in the franchises discussed on this podcast.
Nashville, man. That's probably the only. So I grew up in New Jersey, and typically, like my first city experience was New York. So I'm a little like jaded by going out of the city. Because I'm always like, oh, like these ones are too. Like it's like feels dead here. Like it's not as big, it's not as lively. But Nashville's the one of the only other cities I've been to where I'm like, wow, there is some energy in the streets here. Like it's a pretty sweet city.
It's wild. It's changed a lot, man. It's like Vegas these days.
Yeah,
it's kind of wild.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting town for sure.
How'd you end up there?
Yeah, so I went to undergrad here, I guess 10 to 15 years ago, and then left for 8 to 10 years, and then came back about 3 years ago. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I mean, I guess we can jump into like the franchise.
Yeah, sure.
This, I mean, did you start acquiring franchises when you moved back to Nashville?
Yeah, I did. So yeah, I acquired 3 stores 2.5 years ago, September of 2020.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
And what were you doing before that acquisition?
Yeah, so before that acquisition, I was in real estate sales, residential, down in the Panhandle of Florida. So I kind of focused on a 16-mile stretch of road called 38, and just sold a bunch of houses there for 5-6 years.
Nice. Okay. And what brought you back to Nashville? Was it more like family, personal stuff, or
so like I said, so I went to undergrad in Nashville. My best friends from college were all in Nashville still, and where I lived in Florida, it was a beach town, vacation town, and wasn't really real life. All my friends joked that I lived in La La Land. And that was fun for a while, but I was fast approaching 30 and ready to have a change of pace, so get back to a real city and that sort of thing. So bounced back up to Nashville, I guess July of 2020, so middle of the pandemic, which is a wild time to move somewhere.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. All right, well that's sweet. So of course, we were talking before, you own 4 different brands right now.
Yeah.
So September 2020, and it's all under the Fat Brands portfolio. And for anyone who doesn't know Fat Brands, they own Round Table Pizza, Fat Burger, Johnny Rockets, and some other big brands that CJ owns himself. So which brand did you start? You said you acquired 3 locations?
Yeah, so I acquired 3, which was actually 6 franchises. So I acquired 3 co-branded locations that were all Great American Cookies, Maggie Moo's co-brands. So ice cream and cookie in 3 separate locations.
Okay, that's cool. I don't know if I've ever had a co-branded franchisee on here. That's sweet. Actually, I did have one. It was a Dunkin'. It was Uzman, one of my first episodes.
Yeah, Uzman and I have connected a few times.
Good guy.
So he's got a couple co-brands.
Yeah, yeah. All right, sweet. So, well, I mean, what was that process like, especially out of COVID? Like, did you get like was the owner just like, I'm done after COVID, or you get
Yeah,
to
no.
finance it?
So the whole deal. So like I said, I was living down in Florida, ready to make a change. I'd been exposed to the franchise world, from a young age, I suppose, and so had always poked around, wanted to get into franchising, and found these three stores for sale, and started negotiating pre-COVID. Um, and then when March 2020 hit, we kind of pumped the brakes a little bit. Said, hey, let's see how all this plays out. And then June of 2020, got the deal back on the table, and closed in September of 2020 on it.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. And I mean, did you like it? Three locations, but really six franchises. That's obviously not a small purchase. I mean, was there seller financing involved, or
No, so no seller financing. It was an SBA deal.
nice.
Yeah, so SBA deal. Honestly, my naivete was the blessing in all of
Okay.
it. Looking back on it now, acquiring three stores when I had zero experience in the restaurant world or anything was pretty wild. Two of the stores are about 30 minutes apart from one another. The third store is about 2 hours west. So
Close.
it was. I'm thankful for my naivete, but like I said, looking back on it, it's a little crazy how I just jumped in full force.
Yeah. Holy crap. I mean, wow. So okay. So yeah, let's like walk through the ops of that. I mean, are there store managers that stuck around, and then they're kind of like
Yeah.
showing you the ropes? Like, how does that go on day one when you show up?
So I had store managers at every store, kind of. A week before closing, the seller told me that one of the store managers had quit.
Oof.
But he had a suggestion for a solution of someone internal to, put in the GM position for that store. And so at that point, I didn't know anything else to do. So I said, yeah, that sounds great. I had been through training with both Maggie Moo's and Great American Cookies. So I say I went to ice cream and cookie school. And so I knew the nuts and bolts of, how to, bake the cookies, make the ice cream, all that sort of stuff. But the day-to-day operations of the stores, it was a little loosey-goosey there for a while. So, yeah, took over the three stores, met all the store managers, staff, just a day or two before closing, and just jumped in with both feet.
Yeah. Holy crap. I mean, I guess like I'm trying to think. I mean, they're co-branded stores, so at least it's like, I mean, it's three locations, and I would guess sometimes like your supply chain to a degree is consolidated because you're getting cookies and ice cream delivered to each store, and it's the same building, right? Like that had to.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, our deliveries are pretty streamlined. I mean, it was same vendors obviously for all three locations. So ordering was pretty, streamlined and that sort of stuff. But essentially, with a co-brand, you are running two franchises in one, and there's obviously some cross pollination between products. We'll make an ice cream cookie sandwich, and we'll put cookies in a milkshake, stuff like that. But by and large, operationally, it's very different from running just a single brand. I've got one store that's just a Great American Cookies. And operationally, it's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, that's so. When you structure the co-branded, if I'm applying for a job at your store, am I applying? Is it like Maggie Moo's versus Great American Cookies, or is it just one store? Like sometimes
No, it's just one
cookies?
store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we cross train every employee. So they're, not only, scooping cookies, serving cookies. They're also scooping ice cream, or they'll learn to make ice cream. One of the unique things is we make all of our ice cream in house. A lot of people don't realize that. So we use local dairy to make our ice cream. So so our employees are cross trained to be able to work both sides.
Fascinating. And so, I mean, I'm trying to think here, like, as the franchisor, I mean, if you're getting a cookie that's technically Great American Cookies, but then putting it in an, I don't know, or maybe let's just go with the ice cream sandwich. Like, are you does Fat Brands care? Like, or do you have to build that a certain way? Because, like, maybe one brand's getting part of the royalty, on the back end, and the other one's only getting. Yeah, like how does that work? Is there like specific?
So from their royalty standpoint, I mean, I believe I'm correct on this. The ice cream cookie sandwich is a Maggie Moo's product, so royalties are going to Maggie Moo's on that product, on that item.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just nerding out here on like now the back end.
Yeah, you're good.
But I mean, so then on your Great American Cookies, like, does that impact your P&L that the cookies are going? You're not charging money for those?
Yeah. So I mean, we run P&L on a per location, not a per brand basis. So it really kind of all works out in the wash.
Nice. All right. And so so you own those 3 stores, but 6 franchises.
Yeah.
Could you just give us an idea of today? What's the portfolio look like? If we're sitting out?
So started with those 3. About 6-7 months later, I bought a 4th location that is a co-branded Great American Cookies and Pretzelmaker. So I had to go to pretzel school. Graduated top of my class.
Impressive.
Yeah. My parents wanted me to go to law school or med school, and I got a pretzel degree. So making them proud.
Yeah.
But so I had to go learn the pretzel world, and bought that store. That store is outside of Memphis, Tennessee. So in Collierville, Tennessee. Great store. And from there, about a year later, bought a cookie store. So my only solo Great American Cookies in the Memphis area also. And then this past November, I bought a Great American Cookies Marble Slab co-brand in the Nashville area. So that brought me to 6 locations total. And next week I am closing on 2 locations in Knoxville, Tennessee. One that is just a Great American Cookies and one that's a Great American Cookies Marble Slab co-brand.
Dude, we need a Venn diagram for these locations.
It gets confusing.
Yeah. I lost it. The Knoxville's a Great American Cookies, and then we use a solo Yeah, so it's a solo Great American Cookies in a mall. So I guess backing up, all of my stores to this point are outside of malls. And they're either in strip centers, outdoor lifestyle centers, or outdoor outlet malls. Sure.
So I've yet to go inside a mall. So one of the stores I'm buying in Knoxville is actually inside a mall, old school. And the other one is a Great American Cookies Marble Slab co-brand that's in a strip center.
Cool. All right, and then so, I mean, how are you? I guess first, I mean, the pace of an acquisition is super impressive. How are you getting the deal flow and like finding all these opportunities? And it's pretty local. So like how have you been pulling this off?
Basically by just calling and talking to everybody. From the minute I got in the brand, I made it very evident to everybody, hey, I want to grow and I want to buy stores. We are similar to guys like Brian Beers, with Midas, a lot of onesie twosie franchise owners. We don't have a lot of big groups in our system. So which, from an acquisitions perspective for me, makes it hard at times because look, I'd love to go out and buy, 5 to 10 stores at a time. But that's often just not possible. So, it's finding single and sometimes 2-3 unit owners, that I cultivate relationships with. And the store I bought in November, that took 2.5 years. I started talking to that owner before I even bought my first 3 stores. So it's a long tail on a lot of this stuff. And
Sorry, so you're definitely playing. You're networking. You're playing the long game. It sounds like. I mean, what is that? And it's not uncommon on this podcast that like you said, Brian Beers was on. He honestly kind of kickstarted that theme. Like from my perspective, and for me, he did. But yeah, just this kind of like find your way into a franchise system. And then you have access to all, like, basically this closed network of business owners. And so, I mean, is it like, just how does it work in practice? I mean, you're just shooting a text like once a month, being like, hey, remember, like, give me a call when you're ready.
Yeah,
so
it's that, and it's also corporate. The folks at Fat Brands, they hear about folks that want to sell, pretty early on. You've got franchisees that have been in the system 20-30 years, whatever. Their FBC, franchise business consultant, is talking to them, and that's kind of how it's developed. I'll get a call from somebody and say, hey, this guy may have interest in selling. I don't know what that looks like. Here's his number, if I don't have it already. And real quickly, just go from having a conversation and kicking it off there to see if it's something that makes sense. And look, there's a lot of stores that don't make sense, unfortunately, from a geographical perspective. That's what makes it hard, that I struggle with every day. I talked to my VP of Ops about, how do we feel about, acquiring a single store that's multiple states away?
Oof.
It's a catch-22. It can be great or it can be, a disaster. Typically, I like to keep, 3 stores in a metro area. I think is a good, number to have, surrounding one another, if you can kind of be around that. But at the end of the day, if I'm going on a pure acquisitions play, then, that's not always an option, especially with our brands that have generally been mall-based brands. And so there just aren't a lot of opportunities with a density of stores to acquire.
No, for sure. And I could totally see just the operational kind of conundrum there, right? Of if there is a good location available, but it is far away. I mean, that could just, is the juice worth the squeeze becomes the question there.
Exactly.
And, that's, I mean, all right. Well, so you got an interesting portfolio, man. Do you have a preference? Because you've got different co-branded locations. You've got some singles. Sometimes my thought with co-branded is like, for instance, the Dunkin' Baskin Robbins, which is a classic one. Like, I kind of get that, right? Because you have coffee in the morning, then you're serving out at the same location, you got ice cream. Like, you're not diluting one another. But
sure.
There's an argument where, like, maybe I was going to get cookies, but I just saw a milkshake. And I guess it's still, the money's still going to you. So who cares?
Right.
But yeah, I'm just curious. Do you have like,
so I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a cookie guy. You'll notice the through line of all my stores is Great American Cookies. So every single store that I have is at least a Great American Cookies branded store. It may be co-branded with something else, or just solo, but every store is Great American Cookies. And I grew up with that brand. Like that's nostalgia to me.
Okay.
Our cookie cakes, I had at every, birthday party, baseball party, back to school function, whatever. So at my core, I'm a cookie guy.
Okay. Noted. And yeah, I mean, myself included, I think Great American Cookies maybe like under discussed. especially with the whole crumble cookies craze that has started.
We're in the middle of the cookie wars.
Yeah. Well, but so I mean, again, I think I haven't given Great American Cookies enough credit, but like they are the original from a franchise perspective, at least. So yeah, I mean, what do you got any thoughts there on just what's going on with Crumble and all these competitors popping up? Or are you like, hey,
yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. Look, I've been to my fair share of crumbles, and I haven't had the chance to check out like Dirty Dough and some of the others yet. But whether it's Mrs. Fields or Tiff's Treats or local bakeries, all sorts of stuff. Look, there's good products across all segments of the cookie marketplace. I think some of us cater to different customer bases, ultimately too. And so what I like about our brand is we have a unique product offering that no one else, knock on wood, really offers, and that's the cookie cake. And that's where we can differentiate ourselves. We can take a high dollar item and make that a core part of our business, where we're not just selling a single cookie at a time or a half dozen cookies at a time. We're selling a 16-inch round cookie cake for 35 to $40. That your average ticket sale can pop up pretty quickly, and you get those repeat customers who are like I was growing up, that have that cookie cake once a month for some sort of celebration or twice a month, whatever it is. We have a lot of offices that they order a cookie cake for every single person's birthday, in the office. And so just throughout the year, you get that kind of stuff. And that's where I think we're unique in what we offer from a cookie perspective.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I love the corporate aspect. Do you do any like intentional catering aspect, or is it?
We're trying to build into it. It's hard. Look, I mean, just keeping operations going within the four walls is hard enough these days with the current labor issues and everything else. But have been very intentional with some recent new hires. That's something we want to start tackling because I think there's a tremendous opportunity there. We get a fair amount of catering inquiries on the ice cream side, actually, which is like we've got a 400-person catering gig we're doing this weekend with ice cream. And so, with that, we'll try and, do an upsell and add in a couple cookie cakes and that sort of thing too. So that's what makes it fun having both brands as well, is that we can kind of, mix and match from that perspective also.
No, for sure. That's super interesting. I mean, I just love the idea of catering because, like you said, right? If you can get those customers, it can be really super repeat business, and they're far less likely to it depends on who you're catering for, but for the most part, businesses are less price sensitive, right, than your average Joe that's walking in. So, it's a good thing, I think, to if you can build that in, that'd be awesome. So talk to me, I guess, about just, I mean, the brand variety and, I mean, for you as coming into it, when you would say, like, you added Marble Slab, I think it's a co-branded location, also ice cream, correct?
That's correct. And so just to kind of clarify, because it's as if it's not confusing enough already, Maggie Moose and Marble Slab are one and the same.
Okay. I was Googling it as you were talking, and I was like, I'm typing in Maggie Moose, but Marble Slab's coming up. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah. So they're one and the same. The Maggie brand has slowly been phased out over the past 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
I think I have 3 of the last 4 Maggie Moose in existence.
No way.
Yeah. So, and at some point they'll change over to Marble, which I'm scared to death to do, if I'm being frank.
Really?
Well, they have such brand equity in the communities they're in. And that's the interesting thing about the ice cream business is, though we're franchises and we're, decently sized operator. We're not just the average mom and pop single, unit folks. People view us as the neighborhood ice cream shop.
Yeah.
And so even though our packaging, our POP inside the store, everything has both the Maggie Moose and Marble Slab logo on it, when that flips to just be a marble, people are sensitive to that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So there have been stores, obviously, that have done it, and it hasn't, caused an issue. And ultimately, I think, if we do it right when that time comes, we won't see an issue with our customer base. But it's definitely, it's, again, I said nostalgia earlier for me and Great American Cookies. There's a lot of people that, have a lot of nostalgia for the Maggie Moose brand that grew up in these communities. That I have a friend that I went to college with whose wife worked at a store I owned like 15 years ago.
No way.
And, so there's just stories like that you hear about in the community. And so there's, that factor definitely at play.
It's fascinating too. I mean, and it's kind of funny because there are some folks out there who maybe underestimate the power of brand, but here you are potentially on the verge of converting from, an ice cream shop from Maggie Moose to Marble Slab. But the reality is it's literally the exact same store, exact same people. It's probably just changing a sign or two. Is that
exactly
underselling it, or is that pretty much it?
Yeah, that's literally it. It's changing the sign out front.
Well, that's it, man. People fall in love with like the brand and what it stands for in their mind. So yeah, now it's like you might have to almost. I mean, the reality is like the past. You can't transfer nostalgia over to a new brand,
right?
But I mean, the loyalty and all that, I think from like a local aspect, you can still, keep that business, I would guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, I think, like you said, it's the same product. It's the same ice cream. If we're delivering the same, customer experience, and we're in the exact same location, people are creatures of habit. Those folks that come in for ice cream every Friday night, they're going to keep coming in every Friday night. And so, whether it's Maggie Moose or Marble Slab, on the outside of the building, and so we're trying to just slowly integrate the Marble Slab logo and branding so that, hey, when that date does come, it's not such a shock.
Yeah, no, sure. Well, so from an ops perspective, I think to me, it's interesting, especially because you were a real estate broker, right, prior to this. So
yeah.
I'm going to guess, I mean, were you kind of flying solo in those days? Like just, it's like you and selling houses, or are you like managing brokers beneath you?
Yeah, so I had a small team.
Okay.
But yeah, it was me. I mean, I ate what I killed. And that was, the most recent business, prior to this. And then I tell people I've never had a real job. So all I've done since college is just start companies. And so,
Nice.
Successfully unemployed for a number of years now, I guess. But
Yeah.
But yeah, so was definitely a shock going from, I had a few folks beneath me in the real estate business to, hey, now I've got, with the 3-store acquisition, I had, 30, 40 employees. And that was quite a shift overnight.
Yeah, I would say, man. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with this is like, yeah, I mean, how do you manage that? And like, I guess, I mean, there's got to be part-time labor, I'd imagine, pretty heavily involved in this, right? So, I mean, what is it even like? And when someone leaves, is it almost, because I talked to some QSR owners and, people just in food and beverage, and it's almost like an expectation that you're just going to have this turnover and you just go right back to the job board and start interviewing people again.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess just to kind of, really put it in perspective too. So my stepdad is in franchising also.
Okay.
And so I grew up around it with him. And he told me when I was getting into this, he said, at the end of the day, this is a people business. And every day I'm reminded of that. Like, I tell my team that, like, this is a people business. We just happen to sell ice cream and cookies. And so people are at the core of everything we do, whether that's our employees or our customers, franchisor, everybody. And, for us, we've been really heavy on culture and, doing what we can to retain people. Care a lot about our employees and our team. And we try to build a bench, where, we know when the ice cream business is going to pick up each year. It's about this time of year. So, we start bringing more people on, in February, early March, because ice cream sales start picking up March, April, May, June, July, August, obviously. We're pretty much always hiring. Even if we don't have a specific need, if we find a great person, let's bring them on and let's figure out where we can use them. Yeah. Because at some point, just inevitably, there's going to be churn. There's going to be turnover. Nashville is a college town, to some degree too. We've got Vanderbilt, we've got Belmont, Lipscomb. So, those kids go away during, spring break, during Christmas, during summer. So, we're always needing more people.
No, definitely. And I mean, I can't even imagine just the speed at which you just dove into it. That's incredible. Yeah. I mean, well, looking forward, do you have thoughts around adding other brands specifically, or you kind of, I know you said Great American Cookies is kind of your, the anchor to this all. Are you trying to acquire more of those, or is it kind of whatever pops up locally?
I go back and forth all the time. I think there's advantages to, I'm different path. Look, I love cookies. I love the Great American Cookies brand. Where I'm limited geographically, unless I want to truly expand into other states with that. So there's something that makes sense with staying with one brand and going multi-state. But then at the same time, from an ops perspective, I like the idea of adding another brand and staying in the Tennessee area. Yeah. But with that, I think I'm very picky about brands that I would want to be a part of, and operationally what I think makes sense. I think I've seen more and more. I like the restaurant light brands, as I call them, where you don't have fryers, you don't have grills, you don't have all of that. You don't need 40, 50 people to run a store. With us, that's one of our advantages on hiring. We can say, hey, you could work at Taco Bell, McDonald's, whatever. But man, you're, working back in that kitchen with the grills, with the fryers, with everything. With us, man, it's fun. I mean, that's what I tell everybody we're interviewing. It's ice cream and cookies. There's not a single person that comes in that's upset. And it's a fun place to work. And it's a different environment, different atmosphere. And that's one of the fun things about it that I think, we're able to capture and retain employees as a result of.
That's a good point. You go into those fast food joints, you do get angry customers, you got drive-thrus, you got lines, you got people honking horns, but yeah, the vibe at cookies and ice cream shops, it is generally pretty damn good.
Look, you're gonna have people that come in, and you're always gonna have people who we disappoint or something. We always try to make it better, obviously, but look, people are typically either coming in to celebrate something, or they've had a bad day and they're looking to turn it around with a cookie or an ice cream. One way or another, they're gonna leave with a smile. And so that's what's fun on the guest interaction standpoint as well. So yeah.
Did you when you got into this all? Do you do you know how to make all the cookies, all the ice cream at any of the stores? I mean, are you able to step in and get your hands dirty if need be?
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons I got into these brands. So like I said, I was looking around at a lot of different franchises, came close to buying 10 Supercuts, early 2020, I guess.
Very different.
And very different. And had someone say to me, hey CJ, if one of those stylists, doesn't show up for work one day, you can't jump in and fill that spot. But cookies, you can jump in and you can scoop, bake, and serve cookies.
Yeah.
And that, to me, from an operational standpoint, made a world of difference.
So you like that layer of security where you weren't solely depending on hiring someone to actually basically drive revenue.
Right.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And so as you've scaled, I mean, have you added sort of, G&A, like general administrative functions? Like I know you mentioned a VP of Ops. I'm assuming that wasn't there from the start. Like you found someone who could help.
No, so I've added, and I've added, earlier than probably most would, with the intent of scaling and growing. So currently we're set up. So like I said, next week we'll have 8 stores. So we've got VP of Ops and then 2 area coaches beneath him that will each oversee 3 to 5 stores. And so that's going forward. That's going to kind of continue to be the setup, is having those area folks that can oversee between 4 to 6 stores. I think is the sweet spot on that. And that's kind of our overall setup.
Fascinating. So I take it, because I'm looking at the Fat Brands portfolio here. Maybe the pizza and the burger joints are kind of probably out of the equation, which that's actually a lot. And then there's the Buffalo's world famous wings, Twin Peaks. Yeah, so I take it. Would you consider going outside of Fat Brands at some point, or is there kind of restrictions?
Yeah, 100%. I'm open, and I'm always talking to a variety of franchisors. Primarily in the food space, but I've looked outside of the food space as well. I'm open to anything that makes sense, I guess, that I think our team aligns with and can fold in with our existing operations pretty seamlessly. Is kind of where I'm at.
That makes sense. Well, look, man, this has been super fun. Honestly, just learning about the different brands, different co-branded locations. If is there anywhere online where people can follow either you, any of the brands, just kind of learn more about this whole world that you're building out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess best place is on Twitter. I've taken a bit of a hiatus the past couple months, but re-engaging now. CJ Adams, SEEJAY Adams. CJ, just the 2 letters, was taken, so had to be a little creative. So that's the best place to follow along.
Beautiful. I'll link those in the show notes, folks, so you can follow them on Twitter. CJ, thanks again, man. And we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Have a good day.
Thanks for listening to Franchise Empires. We're coming to you soon with actionable insights to take the next step on your franchise journey. So make sure to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen.